Sarah Meriden with Keller Williams here.
Ryan Walton with U.S. Bank Home Mortgage.
And we are going to do a year-end review for you of what happened in real estate and mortgage in 2018. It was definitely a year of change.
Yeah, definitely. I'll start out here. We had quarter one, we had 30-year interest rates around 4.3 or so.
Yeah, pretty good.
They've gone up. Now we're sitting around 5%. So that's
that was a pretty big jump
increase
in 1 year,
yeah,
right?
I would say so.
And more recently, we're just seeing that that's flattening out though now.
Correct.
Because it did what it needed to do. We saw some market adjustment from that. People who were looking in the spring for a house and not finding one, and then in June we hit the lowest new listings we've ever seen in 5 or 10 years. The
Right.
lowest number of new listings coming on the market.
And you're saying that's coming up here. That's come up since June. I think,
Right,
if I
and so the
remember
listings
correctly.
have come way up again, the new listings per month since June. But so rates went up, the number of listings on the market went down this year, and all of a sudden that brought what we call pending home sales to a screeching halt, like the lowest we've seen in 10 years,
Right.
since the crash.
And you were telling me earlier about the median price range as well.
Yeah, we've seen a big jump in median price. I'll give you the exact median sales price here. So so just like big perspective, back in 2013, January, median sales price in the whole Twin Cities area was $161,800. January of 2018, it was 240 even. And we closed out November with a median home sale price for existing homes, not new construction, of $255,000. So just this year, we've seen a huge increase in the median sales price.
Right.
But from 2013, and then we were comparing rates. So let's say you bought a house in 2013, you bought in a median sales price market under $162,000.
Rates at that time were, below 4%.
Right.
You
So, well, now if you want to sell that house and get into something bigger, nicer, maybe even downsize from the house you bought back then, your mortgage rate's going to be higher.
Correct.
But you should have a ton of equity.
Right.
Which means you should not be paying mortgage insurance. You should, for the most part, be able to put down that lump sum.
Correct. Put
And
that
really
20% down
put
at
that
least.
in check. And so then the other thing that we were comparing that to is, now we're seeing that we've recovered in price, in home prices since the crash. We're back to, 2006 prices and higher in almost every area of the Twin Cities. But what were mortgage rates in 2006?
They were probably around the 6% range.
Yeah.
Around that, I would say.
Which was not bad,
Maybe
because
a
in
little
like
higher.
2002 they were 7%.
Correct,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? So we were doing pretty good. We had a good market right before the crash.
Right.
Pretty stable with 6% interest rates. Prices were pretty stable compared to incomes. Our jobs report has only gotten better and better this year, which
Right.
means people aren't defaulting on their mortgages, right?
It's a good thing.
Right? Their interest rates are low. And I think the point I'm trying to make here is that, yes, interest rates are 5% now.
Right. But historically, they're not too
But
bad.
historically, that's still pretty amazing. And, if you're comparing it to a rate you got in 2011, 12, 13, 14, maybe even 15, you got a
Right.
pretty good rate. It's still only 1% more.
Right.
Maybe 1.5%.
Yeah.
And you have a ton of home equity that you've gained. So even if you
That equity's
refinanced,
king.
if you did a HARP, if you did something to save your butt, so
Right.
to speak, then you
still
should
in
be sitting
pretty
really
good
good
shape.
now, unless you HELOC'd it or did something.
True.
Unless you used your home as a bank, which is one of the
some people
problems
do.
we had with the crash last time. A lot of people had used their home as a bank and pulled out all their equity for other things, non-home related things, vacations and credit cards and
cars.
and college debt, which they had lower interest rates on, and they were paying it off with their house, and their house had a higher interest rate, and it was just a interesting
Right.
poorly planned thing, I think. So anyway, part of our year-end recap here is just really helping people make good decisions and understand the bigger grand scheme of things. And so with that, we want to talk to you about what's coming next year. And we're going to talk a little bit about days on market.
Yeah, days on market.
So we were talking about like how long a house sits on the market. So what I'm seeing and what I'm feeling right now is not what these numbers are saying. And so this is also where it's hard to just trust the internet and trust the news with numbers and stats. So right now it's saying that our median days on market for a house in November is 22 days. And last year, November, it was 27 days. Like, because we have to do only months that are closed, and obviously we're still in December,
Right.
So we don't know for sure what it's going to be. That's not much of a drop. And there are a couple things that I think play into that. You know, that's just less inventory. People have been looking for a longer period of time. The offer just gets put together more quickly.
Right.
More agents are using a status in our listing calculation system that slows the days on market that we weren't using before. 5 years ago, I never changed home statuses just because they stopped days on market, and more agents are doing that now. So a little bit of the lower days on market, I think, is artificial, because if you look at the active houses on the market right now, the days are creeping up.
Right.
I'm seeing a lot of houses out there 30 plus days on market and no offers, and we're starting to go into price changes, which is also something we discussed in a Facebook Live earlier in December. Just seeing that just as many new homes are coming on the market as are dropping in price on a weekly basis. So that's the feeling that I'm feeling versus what the numbers are telling me, that we are shifting a little bit to buyers, not necessarily being a buyer's market. You know, buyers can't come in and offer 20% less and ask for the world. It's not that kind of buyer shift, because our something that we call the month supply. Month supply is how long it would take us to sell off all the existing inventory based on the number of shopping buyers. So they say that if we have month supply of 6 months, where it would take 6 months for all the homes on the market to be gobbled up by all the buyers currently shopping, that's a buyer's market. As you go below that, you're tipping back towards the seller's market. And in theory, if you just look at month supply alone, we've been in a seller's market since the crash, according to those numbers.
Right.
And that's why I don't know that I've always felt like it's been a seller's market all this time. I mean, it has been a seller's market a lot, but people were getting deals in 2012 and 2013 that I was amazed by, and that was a seller's market. So it just, some of the things that indicate a seller's market have to do with competition and market timing and those things as well. So yes, buyers are probably less likely to get into multiple offers right now. Makes it a little more comfortable for buyers. Sellers may have to have their homes on the market a little bit longer right now, but we're not crashing, and we're not going to see prices falling down. That's not what we're seeing. We are seeing more scrutiny of the homes on the market by the lenders, particularly because of the appraisers.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about appraisal this year. We've seen some changes in no appraisal loans and some of those things.
There's some of that out there. There's some loans out there with no appraisal.
Yeah. So what loans have you seen that don't have appraisal?
To be honest, we don't have any.
Not too many,
Not
right?
Too many,
but they are out there. You've probably heard about it. So I've seen a couple this year, and the loans that I'm seeing that don't have appraisal, and now the appraisal is where the buyer turns their purchase agreement over to the lender, and the lender wants to make sure that this house is valued at what the purchase price is or more, and so they put the contract into a third-party pool, where then an appraiser picks it up and supposedly creates an unbiased professional opinion of the value of the home.
Yeah.
Now they have the purchase agreement sitting in front of them, so they kind of know what their
Have
target
some of the
is.
details, yeah.
I mean, there's a little bit to be said for that. I don't know if people can be 100% accurate and unbiased when they know all the details. But in that situation, you know, then the lender gets the report back and says, okay, we can lend on this. Now, the times where I've seen them say, we're not going to put this into a pool, we just trust this purchase price, is
assuming with a higher down payment.
so when the
percentage.
buyer has more than 20% down and they're buying a home that's in a high volume sales area, like a townhome development. So I just had one close in Forest Lake in a townhouse development up there that's had about 20 sales this year and no appraisal.
Nice.
So the idea there was the buyer didn't have to pay for the appraisal,
Which is
and
nice.
the seller didn't have to worry about yet one other person coming through scrutinizing their house, kind of
Right.
like a showing. So no appraisals. That's popped back up a little bit this year again, but it's not like what it was before. It's not like appraisers in the pocket of lenders. It has nothing to do with that caused the crash before. This is really about just there's so much good data that they decided
Using.
there was low risk and we didn't need that step in the process. Any other loan standards, things you felt shifting and changing this year?
Just, I mean, again, we touched earlier on this on another Facebook Live, but jumbo limits have increased. They not only increased for this year of 2018, they went up to 453,100. But last week they announced that they're going to be increasing again for 2019.
Right.
So,
So they're doing that because home prices are going up.
Correct.
So if you're trying to move up to the next level house, this applies to you, right? Like, let's say you're trying to sell your 200 home and you would like to buy like a $400,000 or $500,000 home. Now, previously you would have been getting really close.
You would have been right on
years
that
ago,
jumbo.
when you bought that house, like low 400s was the jumbo loan limit.
Yeah, 417 for a long time there was
Yep.
the jumbo limit,
And that's all you could
which
go
went
to.
up and then it went up again this year and again.
But now for
2019,
2019, it's going to be
44,350.
right.
Nice round number.
So new construction, right? This plays into new construction a lot because what we're seeing is a lot higher average home prices in new construction. So if all the numbers we've talked about so far have been about previously owned homes, right? Because people own houses and they want to know what's going on there. But when we're talking about single family, not condos, not townhouses, none of that, new construction, and we're looking at the average sales price or median. So the average sales price right now for a new construction home is $460,742, which is why we needed $453 to go up to $484.
Right.
You know what we used to be, because otherwise $453 was not getting you
Not
into
quite
a
there.
new construction home, new construction single family home. Here's the interesting part though that I want to point out to people. In May of 2016, the Twin Cities region single family new home construction average sales price was $463,200, and what did I just say it was now? $460,742, the average price house that's selling. So it's down, right? If we go on medians though, that's a little different. Some people like to judge with that. In May 2016, the median new construction single family home was $415,210. Now it's $417,863. So the median or average price for a new home in 2016 is the same.
Right.
Does that seem right? Right? Like, because we
That's
always talk about labor costs and supply costs
Right.
and costs going up. So I think if you think about that, it's builder margins tightening.
Mm-hmm.
So the new home prices are staying the same. And what's happening to all these existing home prices? And this is what the numbers, right? So this is what I'm trying to get you to think about. These are the numbers that are not in the news and that are not discussed, and they look different on paper than when
Than
you
they
think
actually-
about them in real life.
Right.
So if my person can go out and build a new home for the low 400s And it might just be a split level. We're not talking about mansions here.
Right.
I mean,
And it's probably your base model.
This includes base model, split levels.
Yeah.
This includes $1 million luxury homes, right? This is averaging things out. So if on average somebody can build a brand new home for the low 400s,
Right.
and you're trying to sell a used home for 400,
That doesn't
this
involve
is
all
your
the bells and
competition.
whistles,
Well,
right?
but it's used, right?
Yep.
You know, and it's just like anything else. So many people want new. This is kind of what you're up against, and so I remind people, as you have a higher priced used home, which is what your brand new home will become when you go to sell it
Right.
too, you have to think about that now you're competing against new. So if you are building a new home, let's think about quality and longevity and timelessness, all these things,
Yeah.
because building is still a viable option for a lot of people
Definitely.
who are just not finding what they want with the inventory so low. On that note, I've seen a lot of trouble with new construction. a lot of warranty issues,
Yeah.
a lot of just people unhappy, you know, because their brand new house has problems, and a year later, 2 years later, leaks and I've
that's
had a frozen
disheartening.
pipe, and I've had a bad septic on one and a sinking driveway on another.
Which is kind of a bummer because that's maybe the reason they went into new construction in
Yeah.
the first place.
It's
is because
usually
they
the
didn't
reason
want,
people
you know,
go into new
They didn't want
construction.
to deal with those
They
type
don't
of
want
issues.
problems.
Exactly.
They want a warranty. Sometimes it's they just can't find the style they want, right? But a lot of it's they want new. It's why people buy new cars, right? They don't want problems. And so I'm just putting that kind of word of advice out there to people who've been thinking about new solely for that reason. It doesn't guarantee no problems.
Right, exactly.
There's still a lot of human error, environmental error, especially in Minnesota with new construction that causes everything from septic that can't go into sinking concrete to frozen pipes. And I'd say it's definitely a situation where you want to have an agent with you when you're shopping new construction.
Always a good idea to have an agent with him.
The side note on that is people will say, oh, well, if I go to the builder's agent, they said I'll save money, or if I go to the builder directly, you know. But let's talk about the lender side of this. They need their homes to appraise, so they can't really give you that much of a price difference
Right.
on their own product,
They still
or
have
the
that-
rest of their houses wouldn't appraise.
Right. They still
So-
have that issue with that appraisal.
And then the agent might be able to find you some things, if they are skilled in new construction, that are of value but don't affect the numbers on paper, and it makes up for any $1,000 discount you would have gotten from the builder for not using an agent. Plus you have somebody on your side talking to you about it from a more hesitant perspective. Yes, the agent wants the sale to go through, but from a representing you perspective, and just you can still make the choices, right? They'll still ask you, you know, are you okay with the floor looking like this, or do you want it torn up? And these are the repercussions of talking to the builder about redoing it. So there still can be problems. I'm not saying that working with an agent there aren't going to be problems. There are still going to be problems. I mean, that's why I said my people had problems with their new houses. But it's just somebody there maybe talking to you about, are you sure you don't want to just pay $200 more to get the extra outlet now, because your life will be better forever?
Yep.
Any other thoughts that you've seen with new construction stuff? I know you've done loans for those.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I think it's important to have that representation. I mean, it's always nice because buying a home is a big, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
It's a big, one of the most important things I'll ever do.
Right.
And a lot of emotions into it, and to have somebody in your court,
Right.
and on your side, I think goes a long way. So
How about purchase offer price to sale price? You seeing changes there?
Yeah, a little bit.
Because that's the other thing
Little
I've been
bit.
seeing is, the buyer goes through and puts together a sale package, right? And they ask you about things. Do you want granite? Do you want level 1 flooring? What do you want?
You start getting up those upgrades.
But that's not even it. Like, that'll be in the initial price. Where I'm seeing the purchase price change from initial contract to closing is when then they meet with the electrician. And they're like, oh yeah, I didn't think about that. I do want can lights instead of one center light. And now they've added $500.
Right.
And there's only one outlet in the laundry room, and because of the size of the laundry room, that's all that's required there now. Well, I'd like to add that in, and that's $250. And then, I didn't know that the carpet ended there. Can you make it go all the way into the closet?
Right.
And now there's another $200, and all these little things add up, and I'm seeing, that end contract $10,000-$20,000 more.
Yeah.
Or they said, we don't care about the faucets all around the house, and then they go and they look in the level 1 faucets that were quoted, and all of a sudden level 1 faucets are all shiny silver, and that's not what they were hoping for because they didn't see that in the model. So I digress on new construction, but there's just so many decisions there that even if you could do it alone, the agent's just a nice person to bounce those ideas. Like, what's going to be resellable in the future? Should I make this decision or not?
Yeah, I would agree.
Anything else? We talked a little bit about days on market are creeping up this fall, and that'll probably continue. We'll always have a burst in the spring where things go faster and hotter and that, but we're not anticipating the interest rates being a big jump in the spring. We're not worried about that. Home prices are leveling.
Yep.
Like I said, we had that huge jump from 2013, but if you're looking at just the most recent thing here that I wanted to talk about in previously owned homes, so the percentage of the list price that the seller's been getting now has been pretty much 100%. Whether the buyers are paying a little bit more and the sellers are paying their closing costs, excuse me, or the buyers are getting it just below list price and paying their own closing costs. It's averaging out to be right around 100% of the list price, and that's what it's been. But that's current list price. That's not original list price. And earlier I mentioned we are seeing a lot more price drops now. So what's happening is it's the percent of the original list price is where that variance, where we're starting to see that. And so it's gone up steadily, but it's not 100% anymore. People aren't doing 100% of original list price because they're not selling on the original list price if they're selling on the reduced price. And so there still are a lot of competitive ways to just sell and get 100% of your original list price. So if you want to talk about that, let me know. It just goes into strategy and pricing.
Yep.
Any other loan strategy things people should think about for this year? Recast is something you've been having people do?
Recast, yep. We offer a recast on a lot of our products where, give me a call if you maybe...
So what's recast though?
Recasting
it's
is
a word, I just
basically-
said it and nobody knows what that means.
It's a re-amortization.
Okay, what does that mean?
You can make maybe if you're making a large principal payment on your loan, that's not going to change your monthly payment, right? Your monthly payment's going to be the same based off your
Okay, so give me the
amortization.
scenario. When would I recast?
I have a lot of clients that maybe in this competitive market, they don't maybe they want to do a contingent offer, right? They're purchasing their new home non-contingent on the sale of their own. They're going to deal with that later on. I have a lot of scenarios where they maybe put, they don't have all that equity or the proceeds from their sale yet, so they're putting lower down payments down on their new purchase. Then
So what they're doing, because we really have to make this understandable, Ryan, because I know everything you're talking about. It's what I do, right? But okay, so somebody has a big down payment ready to go for the next house, but they can't afford that house and that payment and the house and the current payment that they have at the same time. And they want to be able to get a good deal on the next house. And when you have that contingency on the sale of your other house, it's really hard to negotiate on your purchase.
right.
So they're, instead of taking that down payment, that huge down payment that they were saving for that next house, they're plopping it on the house they already own, asking Ryan to do something called a recast, which way lowers the payment for the house they own, which lowers their debt, and then they can get approved to buy that house without selling this one and negotiate a better deal over here. Yeah, it's going to be lower down payment or what have you.
Right.
But then when they get moved in and they get this house sold, they're getting that lump of money back. Then they put it on the new house like they would have in the first place, and they ask Ryan to recast that house too. So they're recasting 2 times, and there's a small fee associated with that. But what it's doing is it's really helping them move their money in an efficient way to get the best deal, the least amount of headaches with a double move. It's making their life easier, and it's something they can do instead of a home equity line of credit. So if your loan is with US Bank, call Ryan.
Yep, at 651-329-7894.
And he'll talk to you about how you could recast if that applies to you. Some people just do that too if they get a lump sum of money like an inheritance and they want to lower their payment obligation. They still keep making the bigger payment, but they lower the obligation so they're paying off faster that way.
Correct.
That's when he said amortization.
What's that goofy word?
Goofy word. Yeah. So that's kind of an important thing to think about this year. And again, the reason I bring that up is because of the interest rate thing, right? So recasting is not refinancing. So you get to keep the rate you have. That's the key. So if you bought your house in 2013 at that glorious low rate and US Bank has your mortgage now, you can go ahead and call them up and see if you can recast. You should have to have a down payment though to do that.
Correct.
You need a lump sum. You can't just redo your payments when you don't have money to put down.
Right.
If you have a chunk of money, from Christmas, from savings, from cashing out stocks, from wherever you got a chunk of money, you put that on there. They do the recast. The recast then lowers your monthly payment. You'll be able to maybe qualify for that move up home that way, or pay your existing house off faster at that lower interest rate.
Right.
And that's where that's so important, and the good advice we wanted to give you on that.
Yep.
If you have FHA, sorry, it doesn't work for you. That would be a refinance. Talk to Ryan about that. In some cases right now, that's really good. Ryan, plug your ears. Keller Mortgage is also doing really low fee refinances for people to get out of FHAs right now. I haven't used it personally, but I've heard people have good results with doing that, just using Keller Mortgage to get out of an FHA if you have a good conventional
Bottom line is
opportunity.
To sit down with the lender,
and
see what your options
really, we want a house to not only be a dream, but to be that good investment that everybody says it is. And the thing is, it's not a good investment if you picked a crappy program and don't pay attention. It's a good investment if you pay attention to it, if you have good advisors helping you out.
Like us.
Right. If you have somebody who's really gonna say, are you sure you want to use that loan? Maybe you want to use your veteran benefits. Yep. Or, are you sure you want to use this kind of Minnesota housing loan? You're locked into the house for 10 years. You can't move without penalty. Are you sure you want to do that? Or should we just wait and get you in a better position to use a different program? It sounds good because it's no money down and fun times, no closing costs.
You want to look
whatever.
at the whole picture too.
But it's a very short term solution to what's a long term investment, and we just want to help you make a better decision on that. So please don't wait until you love a house and then call us in a panic. Let's talk about it in advance. Let's put a game plan out there and really set you up for success, especially since we know we're not in a bubble.
Right.
Let's repeat this again. We know we're not in a bubble. We know interest rates are not shooting up to 8% next month.
Nope.
They're at a very reasonable 5%, lower than the last bubble when they were trying to chase them down a little bit to save the market.
Yep.
They actually did lower interest rates in 2006 compared to what they were in like 2002 as a market support, and it just didn't work. So
fortunately not.
But there are a lot of loan products out there, a lot of opportunities with houses and the kind of house you want, and whether you're a handyman or not, and what the implications are of buying a done house or a brand new house versus finding an existing house. just as we were talking about price comparisons and things there. So I hope this was interesting and not boring. It's interesting to us.
Yeah.
We're excited about it. We do it every day. But the idea is just that we want to be trusted
Hopefully it was helpful.
advisors, right?
Exactly.
And as trusted advisors, it's a conversation. It's not an Amazon Prime next day shipping situation. I have regrets there too. I'm just
That's
saying.
true.
Next day shipping, I got too excited. But my number 651-964-0289. Please call me if you've got even 6 month out plans that are just in the back of your mind, and we can start the baby steps to getting you there with the least amount of stress.
Right.
I was looking, the numbers are the same again through the Realtor Association for 2018 in the survey that came back. The top things that sellers care about, it's like 20% of sellers, the most important thing is selling fast. 20%, it's 20-ish, 19 to 25. 20-ish percent care about best price, and 20-ish percent really their biggest concern is understanding the paperwork, the process, the legalities. And so when you add those things up, 60% of sellers all really want the same thing. Somebody to help them
Right, to
through
guide
all
them
these
through.
complicated terms for the best price in the shortest amount of time. And the lender's part of that. They can qualify buyers for you, and there's just so much going on there, and it's about planning. So let's
Sounds good. Everybody has